gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Thanks, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, great. Thank you for this series. I love it. And I love the fact that, we don't often get a backstory for people that we really know about in history. So I love that. And, Mike, I want to start with you because you have said outright that Billy the Kid is a childhood hero of yours. Why is that? And then what compelled you to bring this story to the screen?
Well, the answer is I don't know why he was a childhood hero of mine, but I do remember still that when I was 7 or 8 years old and my mother had stopped taking me to school. I mean, she had better things to do, I think. So I ran across the fields to school. But of course, I wasn't running. In my head, I was riding a grey horse and being pursued by a posse, and that's how I got to school safely. But I didn't know why, because I hadn't seen anything on screen at that stage in the 50s, 1950s. Right. And I must have read something, I must have read something. But in any case, the important thing was that Michael Wright gave me the opportunity to find out whether I was right to idolize Billy, and what was why is he such a fascinating character? If you think about it, it's a guy who reputedly died when he was just 21, 22.
Amazing. Yeah.
In the middle of the 19th century, in the middle of nowhere, and yet is still one of the most famous men in Western history. Yeah. So I thought there was quite a bit to explore about his life and why he was an icon and why he's a very famous outlaw. So I wanted to find out more about the real person and make something as authentic as I could.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I said, I love learning about him and his family and what he endured, and kind of gives you an idea as to why he became who he was. So it's very interesting. Yeah, Donald, for you, I mean, what is it about the Westerns? You look at it, even especially over centuries, everybody loves a good Western and everything, but the popularity of it now is insane, with shows like Yellowstone and 1883 and now Outer Range. It's just like they just keep coming. We can't get enough of them. Why?
Well, I mean, it's our history, it's our roots, and I think Michael said earlier, they're mythic stories, Westerns, and told in all different forms. And I think that, they ebb and flow in popularity. When I was a kid, Westerns were all over television. My grandfather was, hooked on Bonanza and Gunsmoke and all the legendary shows. And I loved them as a kid, then they went away. So we're in one of those periods, maybe because what the country's been through the last couple of years, where we need to try to return to kind of what formed us, and when the world was, a little more pure in certain ways, and there was, kind of an opportunity to create your own destiny, and we're kind of searching for what our destiny should be right now once again.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me, really. Michael, listen, thank you so much for the strong women that you write in all of your shows. I applaud you. Thank you. I mean, I'm from Toronto. Catherine Winnick, of course, Canadian, so my heart goes to her, But in this show, what's so interesting to me is we get a sense of who Billy is because of his mother. And I wanted you to address that, because she's such a strong woman. She's amazing. And Eileen does a great job playing her.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. I do. I like writing women characters. My research at Oxford was in Henry James, and Henry James wrote a lot of stories about women, Portrait of a Lady and so on. And he said that women make better reflectors. In other words, you get a better sense of the world from a woman's point of view.
I agree.
And yeah, well, I mean, I like the idea too. So, Kathleen gives Billy a moral compass. I mean, not necessarily her faith, but the morality that comes out of her faith. And, I think it's a travesty that in most Westerns, women look after the house or a whores, that's that's about the only life they have. But in fact, in reality, you needed the strength of women if you were going to go west, if you were going to go into the Badlands, if you were going to go into the places where it was hard to survive. Women tend to be stronger and tougher in those circumstances, I think, because they're, especially if they have kids.
Yeah.
You know, Billy's father, I think it's one of the few occasions where you ever see a Western in which someone is depressed, in which a man is depressed and simply can't cope with the landscape, with the vast landscape, with the immensity of America. He simply cannot accommodate it. And so he kind of gives up. And of course, to the mother cannot give up.
Right.
So
he has to hold it together. Yeah.
So there's a wonderful bond between Billy and his mother, and a great tragedy when she dies. And you know, and he wanted, before she dies, and even when his brother was alive, Billy wanted to look after them as much as he could, but he was a kid, but he tried. And that meant a little bit walking on the wild side, doing, you know, beginning of the life of petty crime to some extent. But it was all for the right reasons, you know. So she's fundamental. She's the soul of the whole show. Actually, however long we take it, hopefully to 24 episodes, her presence will still be there in the show.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's so important. Donald, why was Tom the perfect guy to play Billy the Kid? Man, he's so good.
He is so good. Yeah. I mean, we were blown away by him when we saw his first audition, which was fairly early on. We saw like over 400 actors for the role. And Tom went to Juilliard, so he was, you know, formally trained, only about a year and a half out of school when we made the show. But he's incredibly intelligent. He has a real depth to him. And he can do very little, and it affects by doing a lot. So in other words, he can be still on camera and kind of express so much just through his face and the depth behind his eyes. Yeah. He's got a real soul that comes across on film. And I think that he just embodied that character in a way that just, there was that spark there, and it was just something that was perfect. And he really holds the show at the center of the show.
Absolutely. Michael, what impressed you most about Tom?
Well, first of all, he looked like Billy the Kid.
Did, right? Yeah, I thought that too as I was watching.
Normally you go, uh-oh, that's not going to work. I got into a lot of conversations with him, you know, and out of the conversations, I realized that he was very sincere when he told me earlier on that he felt great empathy for Billy. And you can see in the performance that he does. You know, he's my Billy because I didn't want a psychotic killer. I wanted a very sensitive, troubled, complex soul. And as Donald said, you could see that in his face. You know, you can see all those things in his expression. And, you know, I threw a few rocks in his path along the way, as one has to do. And one was telling him at one point, you know, something I didn't know, that Billy had this beautiful voice and singing voice and could play musical instruments. And the next day, Tom sent me a tape of him singing and playing the guitar beautifully, you know. So whichever way you looked at it, he was the right person. And we weren't lucky. He just walked into our lives and he was the right person.
Yeah, well, listen, I really just want to thank you so much for the series. I'm really enjoying it big time. So yeah, season 2, keep it coming, okay? And Michael, again, you know, personal thank you on, you know, I'm even just loving Vikings Valhalla. I knew you sent it off and gave your blessing to it, but I don't know how you do it, but man, I want what's going on inside there in my head too. So thank you very much for everything. Appreciate your time, gentlemen.